ho ho, it's me, Killian Murphy, back at it again with a new episode of the Boy Time Podcast, and as always, I'm joined by Babby.
Mm,
Mm. We have a slam dunk episode as always. I think we got quite a bit to talk about. Been a lot of stuff that has happened. Today the Oscar noms came out, and you know how much I love award season. So
yay.
we'll talk about the nominations a little bit, I guess. Not a whole lot to say. I think everything is what I expected. I think people are a little upset that uh, that Margot Robbie did not get nominated for Best Actress, and I think, yeah, Greta Gerwig did not get nominated for directing, which is weird because that movie has such a distinct style. But of course, Ryan Gosling got nominated. Which I will say, I think, in my opinion, I do think that he does kind of steal the show because him as Ken is just a delight. But it is kind of weird that he's the only one that is nominated for the big four, I guess, or big three, big five. I don't know,
7.
seven. But other than that, it all seems pretty standard. Uh, yeah, it'll be interesting to see because again, we have another foreign movie in the Best Picture slot. One that I have not seen, but I probably should. It's Anatomy of a Fall. I've heard really good things about it. I think it's Dutch. Let me just double check that real quick. French. That probably should have been my default guess. But I think it's kind of a play off of the old. I don't know who made the original Anatomy of a Murder, but I think it's a play off that, set in modern times. I've heard really really good things about it. So I think that one could sneak up, but I don't think it's going to win Best Picture. But I guess we'll just go through Best Picture noms. Those are probably the only ones that I'm going to really pay attention to. We got American Fiction, which just came out like a couple weeks ago. We got Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. I don't think anything necessarily got snubbed here. Of course, I'm still holding out for The Holdovers to win, but I don't think it is going to. If I had to guess, I maybe Oppenheimer, but Oppenheimer got nominated for a lot of things, so they're probably gonna win a lot of the smaller ones, and maybe they'll give Marty his flowers finally. So maybe that's what's gonna happen. I did see Killers of the Flower Moon today. It's very very good, and I think it would be deserving of Best Picture. It's probably as good as any of the other ones, if not better. So, yeah, I don't know. Well, I don't know when they happen. Well, let's see if this article says. No, probably in March or late February. But other than that, no real surprises or anything. Don't have any predictions except that Oppenheimer or the Killers of the Flower Moon is probably going to win Best Picture. So that's Oscar. Everybody loves Oscar. He always makes the best decisions. So gotta root for Oscar. But I think that's it in terms of news. There's a music thing that I'm gonna talk about, but we'll get to there when we get there. And then we did get some news on the new season of Invincible. Now, I did get caught up with Invincible this last week. It was pretty easy. It was 1.5 seasons. I didn't realize that they split the last season up. Um, so I got all caught up, and I'm like, why is there only 4 episodes in season 2? Well, I guess they cut it in half, which kind of sucks. But the second half is coming on March 14th, which I've been seeing a lot of discourse about the announcement. I don't know if you have seen anything.
No.
Okay. Well, they did the annoying thing, and I don't think people are upset specifically at this. I think it's just this is the trend where like they announced that they were going to announce the release date, and there was like, we are going to announce something next week. And then they announced the release date, and it was like, why? Like, just announce the release date. Why do you have to make an announcement for the announcement? But I mean, other than that, I don't think anybody was upset about it specifically. It was just like, why is this a thing? So I don't know, but Invincible's a very good show. I watched it. I love J.K. Simmons, so I'm like, he's a good pick to play the Omni Man, the bad dad fella. And I will say, because I think this show kind of got lumped in with The Boys, because they're both doing like the bad Superman thing. I will say The Boys is more overtly bad Superman. Omni Man is kind of, well, okay, it's kind of because Homelander and The Boys has like pretty much exactly Superman's powers. Like he can fly, he has super strength, and he has like laser eyes, which are like, you know, the main things that Superman is known for. And I think he has X-ray vision or something, because he can like, it's been a while since I've seen The Boys, but I think he can like tell when people are lying because he can see their heart rate increase and stuff like that. So he's like pretty much 1-to-1 Superman, whereas Omni-Man pretty much has Superman's backstory. Like he was sent from a planet that I don't think the planet was dying. It's just that he's an alien, and he he comes to Earth to help them, or at least that's what he says. Because he's a bad guy, but he doesn't have all of Superman's powers. He just flies and is strong. But other than that, I don't think he has any of the other stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I thought it was pretty interesting. I think I do like The Boys a little bit more. I think it has a little more to say, because The Boys is, I don't know. The fact that they're superheroes is more or less just a vessel so that they can talk about like corporations and consumerism and stuff like that, and personality, celebrity, stuff like that. So I feel like it has a whole lot to say on, like, I guess, social commentary. Invincible, not so much. It's a kind of traditional superhero show with a bad Superman in it. So you can, that's the trend. Everything has to be bad Superman. Even Superman, I feel like everything is bad Superman these days. Super excited for that Suicide Squad game, by the way. Saw they're adding the Joker.
Let's go.
Can I go off on a tangent?
Why not?
Can I say
It's early on. Keep going.
Can I say something about this Suicide Squad game? Because, yeah, so people might know I basically played all of the Arkham games again, and yeah, so this is all very fresh, and this Suicide Squad game is supposed to be set in the same universe that the Arkham games are, which already raises some eyebrows because of what happens in Arkham Knight. I guess spoilers for it's almost 10 years old, I think, for about a 10-year-old game, but Batman dies in the end. I guess that's not really a spoiler. That's literally the first line in the game, is Commissioner Gordon saying, "This is how the Batman dies." So Batman dies at the end, but Batman is in this, in the Suicide Squad game, which, we can get into all of that. But it's just like, okay, I guess if you're gonna have a Suicide Squad game where they kill the Justice League, I guess it makes sense. You want to have like one of the main members of the Justice League being there. So it's like, okay, I get it. But Deadshot in the Arkham series is a white dude with a handlebar mustache, and not handlebar, like one of those curly mustaches kind of things, a weirdo mustache. Uh, and then in the new game, they made him a black guy, which I feel like that's probably just to be like, oh, well, when we think of Suicide Squad, or when the general populace thinks of the Suicide Squad and Deadshot, they probably think of Will Smith in the hit Suicide Squad movie. I think Idris Elba is someone else, but it's pretty much the same character. That's like the joke, is that Idris Elba is like the same character as Deadshot. It's the same character as Peacemaker. So that's why they did it, and they did like some hackney thing on Twitter where it's like the Deadshot in the Arkham games was like an imposter, which doesn't really make sense because we see Arkham in Arkham Origins. There's Deadshot, and he's a white guy. It's the guy from Arkham City, which takes place like 10 years after Arkham Origins. Same guy. It would be kind of weird for that Deadshot to be an imposter for that long. It's like, I get why they made the decision, just to like brand recognition and not to just have a whole cast of white people and a shark. I get it, but why even have this set in the Arkham universe at all? But the the real nail on the coffin is that they announced a couple days ago that, because this is going to be like a live service game with free updates, so that's what everybody wants. And one of the first playable character that they are going to add is the Joker. The Joker dies in Arkham City, and it is very much like a thing in Arkham Knight that he is dead, and we are seeing the ramifications of a Jokerless Gotham. It doesn't make any sense that he is in this game. I mean, he's not even voiced by Mark Hamill, so what's the point? Also, it's not like, I think when you do Joker these days, you have to really, it's a very fine line, because there's there's a very specific way to do Joker, and I think they were kind of trying to do like, okay, well, we'll take it back. We'll like go back to like the 60s Batman. That's the type of vibe they're doing for this Joker that they're bringing to a Suicide Squad game. And it was like, it's too much, and it's like random XD humor where it's like, oh well, Joker's traversal, it's a rocket powered umbrella. It's like, why? It's not Penguin. Why does Joker have a rocket
Joker's trick.
It is a Joker's trick, which I do got to appreciate, but it just doesn't make any sense. I don't know. My hope for this game is basically on the floor. But I think I am probably going to play it at some point. I'm probably not going to pay $70 for it, but I am such a big fan of those Arkham games, so they might eventually get me in. But I am definitely not playing it on day one. But I did see that the Riddler is in it, and it's voiced by the guy from Arkham, and so that does kind of get me interested, because I do love the Riddler in the Arkham games. So I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, that was very disappointing. I think that comes out like next week. I think it's like next Friday, because it's the 2nd of February or something. Let me double check on that. Yes, it is. It's the 2nd. So next Friday, we'll be able to play that. So a $70 game. The deluxe version is $100.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I don't know what they're doing. I also saw that like there was like a couple of the developers at Rocksteady were basically like we're not going to make another Arkham game. It's just like, come on. why why are you guys dead set on making this like really bright and colorful Suicide Squad game? It's just like I feel like they were kind of roped into it based on the two Suicide Squad game or the two Suicide Squad movies. That name is kind of a mouthful, but I don't know. It's just kind of weird that like we're in an age where a lot of superheroes are getting their game treatment. You know, Square's doing their stuff with the Avengers, and Guardians of the Galaxy got theirs, and Spider-Man obviously just got their second one for PlayStation, and Batman hasn't had a game in 10 years. It's just weird. That's all I'm gonna say. But that's that. I don't know. That was supposed to be a review of Invincible, but who cares? I'll probably talk about it more once the second half of the second season comes out. So, yeah. But I also did see Fargo season 5, finally. I probably won't talk too much about it because I don't want to spoil it. But let me just say that the tone of this show went from quirky Coen Brothers madness to John Hamm is one of the most evil characters that has ever been recorded in the visual medium. It is.
I was hoping they wouldn't do that.
They they completely did a 180, and I don't dislike it. I actually like this season quite a bit. It's just very different than all of the other seasons.
I miss
of
Lester.
I do too. I was kind of hoping they would do something, a reference. Not even a reference, but this season is like completely separate from all of the other ones. I feel like some of the details from some of the seasons worked into the other ones. Like I feel like 4 tied into 2, I think. That was the thing with that one, and I think the modern ones just don't really tie in together at all. And this new one is set in 2019 because they didn't want to have it set during or after COVID, which I guess is smart. But this, I think I do kind of have a bone to pick a little bit because I think they kind of successioned it where basically all of the characters are unlikable. I was like, that's not like that's the thing with Fargo is that I feel like in the movie, and not to be that guy, but the movie, like everybody is a likable character for the most part. Like Jerry Lundegaard is like this idiot who's trying to con his father-in-law into financing a parking lot, and it's so to do that he has people kidnap his own wife, and it's just like that plot is just ridiculous. And then the cop played by Frances McDormand is also incredibly likable, and that whole thing is just like that's kind of the thing that I really like about Fargo, that movie, is that it's all very likable people, and there's just messed up stuff happening. You know, they're shoving body parts into a wood chipper, and they're murdering each other. It's a very dark and gritty world when everyone talks like a Minnesotan with their funny accents. And so this show is this season, I guess, is very, very dark. I feel like almost too dark. It really like there's a couple episodes that start with like a content warning and end with the domestic abuse hotline. It gets rough. Yeah, I don't even want to say allude to anything that happens just because it's pretty rough, and we don't directly see it, but what is implied is really, really bad, like worse than anything else that has been in the show. Because I feel like everything in the show has been somewhat tame. Like there's murder, but there isn't like sex crime or domestic violence or sexual assault. It's it's rough. And it was just kind of weird because John Hamm is the one that's carrying it out. Like, John Hamm is the most likable person in Hollywood. Like, why would you have him be the super bad guy? But he pulls it off. Surprised, like, I was kind of surprised. So I'm like, oh, he's gonna be a fun cowboy guy. Maybe he's gonna be like a cop, and it's gonna be set. He's gonna be like a sheriff or something. It's gonna be like an old western thing. It's like, nope, set in modern times, and it's a lot, but pretty good. I think I think in terms of ranking of seasons, I still think that season 2 is the best, and I think that's probably followed up by 1, and then this one, and then 4, and then 3. I think that's my ranking of the seasons of Fargo. A relatively decent show, but yeah, I just thought I would bring it up because we did talk about them as we were watching them. I don't know if those episodes are still available, or
I don't know.
I don't think they are on.
I have no idea how long ago that was.
It was a while ago, and I don't think we were on Spotify then. So, and I don't know when we switched over. I don't know. It was a long time ago, but we did talk about Fargo as we were watching it. So I thought I would talk about the show a little bit since it is the last season, and it was kind of cool because it is kind of it's Noah Hawley as the guy who's kind of been the creator behind this show, and like almost every episode is written like exclusively written by him, and he's directed like 7 out of the 10. So it was kind of cool. It kind of felt like it was him like doing this one last thing for Fargo. Like, okay, cool. But yeah, I definitely say, like, if you are sensitive to any of those topics, probably stay away from this one, even though it is pretty good. So that's it. That's it for Fargo. But I think it's time for our week 1 discussion of the 2024 Boy Time Desert Marathon.
Yeah.
Yay! Taking a little bit of a left turn here. But yeah, so last week we unveiled our marathon for the next 4 weeks, or I guess 3 weeks now. All movies taking place in the desert. That schedule is in the description, so be sure to check it out if you want to get caught up for next week, which is going to be our Acid Yeehaw week or going on a trip week, as you suggested last week. So if you want to get caught up for next week, that is El Topo, The Shooting, and Dead Man. Check those out. So we'll be talking about them. So this week we watched High Noon, 40 Guns, and The Magnificent Seven. 2 of them I thought were really, really good, and one of them I was pretty bored through, which is pretty good. I was not looking forward to this week at all because I do not really like traditional westerns. I think, at best they're pretty boring, and at worst they're overtly racist. But a couple of them, they defied my expectations. I actually enjoyed them quite a bit. I think some of that is largely due to the cast being pretty g-dang good for High Noon and The Magnificent Seven. Those are the ones that I really liked. Pretty hard not to like The Magnificent Seven because it is a remake of Seven Samurai by Kurosawa. It even said so in the opening credits. I was pretty surprised to see that, but I guess you got to. But we'll start off with High Noon. I think High Noon probably has the best concept of the 3. It was very, very interesting. It was basically about this, I think he was like a ranger or something, but he put away a murderer 5 years ago, and he's basically been in a prison up north, and they were going to hang him, but somehow he got a pardon, and now he's on a train heading back down to the Rangers town, and the train's going to arrive at noon, high noon, if you will. And so basically, what the movie is, it's a real time story of this sheriff trying to get help, and basically nobody wants to. They're all cowards, and they're all like, "Hey, if you leave, you know, there's a guy is coming into town to kill you. If you leave, then there won't be any trouble." And the guy's like, "Well, yeah, but then he's gonna ruin everything. He's gonna make this town hell for the citizens living there. So he's gonna be there to save the day." And so it's really interesting because there's like this visual motif of like just cutting to a clock, and it's like we're seeing the visual representation of this real time hour passing of he's running around and he's always looking at the clock, and we're just seeing time go down, and we know once that clock hits noon, then there's going to be an epic shootout, and he's probably going to die, because that's what everybody says. Everybody's like, yeah, there's like 4 murderers coming into town and you're by yourself, and basically all of the deputies just leave or quit, and he's like, I want to arrange a posse, and everybody's like, no, I'm too scared. And so he's basically just SOL. So yeah, kind of interesting. It's a nice little character study of a cowboy sheriff man who is too proud to leave and cares too much about the citizens of his little town. So yeah, I would definitely recommend High Noon. I think it is very, very good. That one was the one I started with, and I was pleasantly surprised. I'm like, hey, maybe this whole traditional Western week isn't gonna be so bad. And then I watched 40 Guns, and I think this is an unpopular opinion, and I just really did not like this movie at all. I was pretty bored by it. But yeah, this one, like all of these are, well, I guess Magnificent Seven isn't a sheriff movie, but this one is also about a sheriff who moves into a small town, and there's a lady, and she runs a gang of 40 guns, and the sheriff and the lady fall in love, and that makes her stop her evil ways. I'm trying to think of what else happened in the movie. It's not very good. I really don't remember most of what happened. I watched it a couple days ago. I don't remember. So sorry, 40 Guns, but it was kind of lame and hokey. It was kind of getting into the whole like romance, like Hollywood romances that was very popular during this time. Like every single movie had to have a love interest, and all of the ladies had to be shot with like a very special lens that was blurry on the outside just to make them look good. It kind of fell into that, and I'm like, no, thank you. So, sorry. Sorry for all the 40 Guns fans out there. I don't know if there's that many of them. But there's probably about 40 people that like this movie, ironically. And then the third one that I watched was The Magnificent Seven, which is really, really good. I was kind of going into this being like, okay, well, Seven Samurai is a masterpiece. Even though I think out of the Kurosawa movies I've seen, I think it is my least favorite out of Rashomon and Ran and Seven Samurai. But I mean, it's a really, really good movie. The Magnificent Seven has, I think, an hour and a half less time to work with, and it's obviously set in a Western. So it's going to be very different. They're going to, cut some stuff for time. But ultimately, I think it was pretty G-dang successful. And I think a big part of that is that they have Steve McQueen in one of the leading roles. And Steve McQueen is one of the most charismatic actors ever. Like, I can't think of a cooler person than Steve McQueen. Honestly, especially in this time period in like the mid to the late 60s. I think that Steve McQueen and The Great Escape might be the coolest that anyone has ever looked in the motion pictures, as the kids say. But he's not in The Great Escape here, but he is. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about Steve McQueen. He's just very, very likable, which is a good charismatic or characteristic to have when you're playing a no good outlaw, which I guess is kind of a big difference between this movie and Seven Samurai, where Seven Samurai set in feudal Japan. Samurai, I think it's set towards the end of feudal Japan, where like samurai aren't what they used to be. They're kind of like washed up. They still kind of go around and help people when they can, but also some of them are they just get drunk and hang around bars and like taverns, I guess, or whatever. So it's kind of different, where I feel like samurai have a general level of respect amongst the kind of peasantry that would be in the feudal Japan setting, whereas the people that the villagers hire in the Magnificent Seven are all outlaws, like I guess guns for hire. So they aren't necessarily seen with the same level of respect as the samurai. And on top of that, there's an added layer in that the village that is under attack by bandits is in Mexico, and so it's a bunch of, I think they're mostly indigenous, like they seem like kind of indigenous Mexicans, and then they have to cross the border to Texas, and then they're bringing like white people down to help with to Mexico to help. So there's that added layer of like, well, some of them don't want to help because they're Mexican, and like there's that layer to it, which isn't really found in, the Japanese version because they're all Japanese. Of course, there's class in that one, but it isn't not totally the same when you're dealing with American racism. So that's an element, and also like it definitely, I wasn't expecting that at all, since the movie came out in, I think, 1960 was when the Magnificent Seven came out. Segregation still in effect, so it's just like, you know I was not expecting like this kind of social commentary to the level that we got here, which, to be honest, isn't like a whole lot, but it's there. Okay, that's something. It's something. So, yeah, I don't know. Thought it was pretty, I would say, a worthwhile adaptation. I thought it did enough with the source material. And I do think that, when it comes to adaptations of both Japanese to Western, and Western does go to Japanese, Kurosawa was heavily influenced by John Ford, like earlier Westerns. So it's kind of cool to see one of his stuff turned back. And I think, it's kind of interesting because I wouldn't necessarily think that like your cowboys would have a whole lot in common with samurai in real life. Samurai were very high class, worked with royal families or whatever, and cowboys were ranch hands or outlaws. Like, not a whole lot of overlap, but it is kind of interesting that during this period there was a lot of overlap in like westerns and your classic samurai movies. Kind of interesting. I don't know. Sounds like something that would make for a really good video essay, but I don't do that. So just leave you with that. Magnificent Seven, pretty dang good. Also, back to the cast. It has the Ugly from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and he plays the leader of the bandits, which I thought was just fun to see him in something again. And then the bad robot cowboy from Westworld is the lead. It was driving me crazy the whole time. Like, who is this guy? I know I've seen him in something. in the movie Westworld. He plays the robot cowboy that goes mad and just starts killing everybody. And he's even wearing like the same outfit that he's wearing in Westworld in the Magnificent Seven. I thought that was kind of weird, but it was okay. But yeah, that was week one of Desert Marathon. I don't have a whole lot to say about them because they were really, really short. Like, I think 40 Guns and High Noon, I don't think they were longer than an hour and a half. Magnificent Seven was 2 hours, but, you know, with a story like that, you need that much time. So, really, really short, concise movies. So, I guess I'll take that. But next week, we're going to be getting weird and psychedelic, which I'll take. I'll take over this. So, there's that. That's it for the Desert Marathon. I guess I could talk about Killers of the Flower Moon. So I did just see that. Don't have a whole lot to say either about that, but it is kind of interesting. You know, I think Scorsese in his current like place in his career, I think to make this movie is a really interesting choice, and it feels very deliberate. And this is what I was thinking about while I was watching the movie, just because, you know, Scorsese is kind of recognized as one of the best directors of all time, but his movies always struggle to find financing. You know, his last two have been tied to streaming services, and you know, Scorsese is all about the theater release, so I don't think he was super happy about that. This one was on Apple TV Plus, and the last one was on Netflix. I think The Irishman may have not even gotten a full release. I know Killers of the Flower Moon did. It didn't come to my city, but I know it did. So it's just kind of interesting that like he's at a place where he really has to shop his stuff around, which is so weird. Like you would think that studios would be chomping at the bit to get the next Scorsese movie under their belt, but I don't know if they're just not successful. I don't know what the deal is. So for Scorsese to be like, okay, well, I'm gonna do this thing about these murders that happened in the early 1900s in Oklahoma. Kind of, it's a well-known like case. I mean, there was a pretty well-known book that the movie's based off of that came out in 2012. So like people knew about it, but it wasn't like one of the most popular things. I think it is one of the FBI's first cases. I think that's true. I know that the investigation into the Osage murders was authorized by J. Edgar Hoover, the man, the myth, the legend. Big friend of the show. We love J. Edgar Hoover here.
Great guy.
Yeah, lovely man. But other than that, I don't think I knew a whole lot about it. And then I did some looking, and I think the movie is pretty accurate in terms of its representation of the events as they happened. I will say I do have a slight problem in that, like, it focuses on Leonardo DiCaprio's character, who is one of the murderers, along with his uncle, played by not Robert Downey Jr., Robert De Niro. They're both murderers, and we follow them, and it's like, okay, I get it. Scorsese, you're used to doing these gangster movies, but it's like, if you're doing a movie that's based on the murder of indigenous people, I would have really liked the story to focus more on them. They're almost supporting characters in a movie about their genocide, which I know that Scorsese took a lot of care to, you know, cast only indigenous people. Like, you know, a lot of movies maybe not so much these days, but especially back in the day, they would hire uh, like Mexican people or Asians to like play Native Americans, just to cut corners, whoever's going to do it cheaper. And so I know he really took some effort to cast, indigenous people in indigenous roles. And I'm pretty sure that the language that the indigenous people speak is what they would speak in the Osage region there in Oklahoma. So I know that like he took some precautions, and I know that a lot of the indigenous people that have come out and or that were a part of it, they say themselves that like he took some great care to like make sure that everything was authentic and how it really would have been. But it's just like, man, like I don't I feel bad. Like we're sitting in the driver's seat watching these murders happen, and maybe that's the way you tell the story. I don't know. I haven't read the book, so I don't know if that's how the book is told either. But it's just like I would have liked to see this movie with Molly Gladstone or Lily Gladstone's Molly Burkhart in the lead role. Understandably, well, maybe not her because she is sick for most of the movie because she was being poisoned. So maybe not. Maybe this is the only way to say it to tell this story. I don't know, but I'm glad that the story is being told. I think that the way that this movie ends was almost Spike Lee esque, where both Malcolm X and American History X, they end with a little debrief, being like, okay, well, here's what's going on. Here's what happened after the events of these movies. Here's what's still happening today. And then they kind of end with like a kind of direct call to the audience, being like, hey, in the event of in the case of the Spike Lee movies, it's like, hey, here's what's going on with the black community, and like help, or I don't know, just like do something, I guess. A kind of a call to action. Where this movie, it's interesting. The way it ends is that it ends with like a radio broadcast of like after the events of the movie. So we're seeing like people, it's like a radio drama. So like we see people do like sound effects and like different actors coming up in orchestra. They're like just telling the events of like how all the characters, they eventually were all pardoned, and none of them were like prosecuted except for a couple, and then they were let go like 10 years later. And then it's very interesting because Martin Scorsese has a cameo at the end where he reads, I think Molly, I think her, I guess a maiden name, I think it was Molly Cole, then Burkhart, and then she remarried after the murderer was put away. And he reads her obituary and then just like says, because it's just like, she died. She's leaving her husband and her kids, and she's with her sisters and mother who all died in the events of the Osage murders. And then Martin Scorsese just says they didn't, no mention of the Osage murders in the obituary. And then it just ends with like a real, I don't know what kind of ceremony it is. It's some sort of, I'm assuming Osage ceremony that they're doing. Just a very interesting kind of way to end it. So I don't know. I think that this movie is really really good. I've seen people say that this is among Scorsese's best. I would say so, out of the ones that I've seen, but I'm not always such a big fan of his movies. But I do think that this movie is worth it. It doesn't feel like I think it's 3 hours and 40 some minutes long. It really doesn't feel like it. And in fact, you do kind of need that length to tell a story of this magnitude. That being said, I am excited for his next movie, which is apparently going to be an hour long. So,
Yippee.
yeah, I'm like, okay. Irishman was also 3.5 hours. This one is 3.5 hours. Just bring it back, you know? Not everything needs to be that long, Marty. Maybe then it would take less than 5 years to make a movie. But also, some of that was COVID. But I think his next movie is a Jesus movie again. And I'm like, Marty, I don't, I don't know. I don't want to see another Martin Scorsese Jesus movie. And apparently, this one is like, I want to destigmatize organized religion. Like, Martin Scorsese, this is not the time. I get that you're a devout Catholic, but things are not good. So I don't know if we need to be destigmatizing organized religion. They're already wreaking too much havoc. But that's just my opinion, not Martin Scorsese's. He can do what he wants, I guess.
My views do not do not line up with Martin Scorsese.
Yeah, they don't. Not entirely. On that one, I I feel like me and him would actually get along. He seems like a very delightful man.
E.
Hey. Well, I see the TikToks that his granddaughter does with him.
True, he seems like a fun old chap.
Yeah, he just seems like a nice grandpa, which is funny because he makes these very dark movies. But yeah, that's it. I don't know if I'm going to be seeing any more Oscar movies. I might, just to fill in some of the gaps. I don't know where Oppenheimer is. I feel like I should probably see that one, even though I don't really want to. But I guess I will. But that's it. That's it for me. I'm going to turn the show over to Babby, where he's going to talk about stuff.
I love stuff.
Me too.
Things too. I got a couple of things this week. Some stuff.
Okay.
Even. I'll wait for my website to load. This is the first week where I think we got a actual could be album of the year contender.
Oh.
So it's starting to pick up now. January is always really slow, but we're getting there. Where do I want to start this week? We will start with singles, I guess. More Mother had a new song, lead single to her new record coming out in March. This one's called "Guilty" in all caps. It's 10 minutes long. It is fantastic. I love it. This might be my favorite single of the year so far. It's featuring some other artists too. The thing on Spotify is too long. Get over here. It has Lonnie Holly and Raya Was on it. It is a kind of ambient sonic jazz piece with some spoken word and some really, really, really fantastic backing vocals. It is great. It is enchanting. It's dark. It's beautiful all at the same time. It is fantastic. I am very much looking forward to the new record from her. Seems like she's going back in her jazz bag after I think her last record, Free Jazz, was a little bit more of a hip hop or jazz codes. That was a little bit more of a fusion with hip hop and stuff, which I did enjoy. But after hearing the single for this one, I'm like, I'm so down for this. So that'll be coming in March. I will definitely be giving a review on that. What else happened this week? We got 2 albums I listened to that came out. I wanted to see if there's anything else I missed before I got here, but I don't think I did. So we'll just dive in. First album I listened to was Plastic Death by Glass Beach. I feel like we might have gotten a Glass Beach record recommended to us.
I think so. That sounds familiar.
Because their first album cover looks really familiar to me. But yeah, this is their first album since 2019, and this is their second album. So they definitely did a 5-year wait between the 2 records, which is pretty daring. I know they've had some singles in between, but I have not really heard. I've seen the album covers for this group. I just haven't seen the music or anything yet. But this came out and everybody was immediately like, yes. and I looked at the genres and I'm like, okay, I'm going in. So we got some art rock, we got progressive rock, we got math rock, we got emo, we got neo psychedelia. It is a combo of everything nice. It is really great. I was not sure what to expect, and halfway through the record, I wasn't sure what to expect. This thing kind of feels like a Black MIDI record in the fact that it kind of like gives you whiplash a lot, but it sounds completely different than a Black MIDI record would. It's all underwater sounding, which is great because water level songs are some of my favorite songs usually.
That's true.
I love water level songs. I mean, I feel like the first song feels like in Rainbow's Weird Fishes kind of vibe with like all the pretty arpeggios and the weird production. Got some marimba across all of this album, and it's really good. And then all of a sudden, like you get two tracks later, and there's someone doing like a Midwest emo voice, and there's like some screaming going on almost, and there's some math rock, and it is just wild. I feel like we're hitting a point now where like these very online kind of Gen Z millennial, like young millennial Gen Z kind of people are really maturing and putting out really fantastic music. But because of all the genres that are becoming popular in the music sites and the nerdiness online, that the music community is like a lot more connected with each other now, you're getting like these albums that sound like you just compiled every single like nerdy album at the top of like album of the year or rate your music, jammed it into one, and that's what you get. But it actually works really well. I would say that if you like structure or if you like your music to kind of have a more cohesive feel, this might not work as well for you because it never stops changing. Like, I think it works because they do it in such a seamless way that you don't realize that something's changing, like until it's about 5 or 6 seconds in. But it is just constantly transforming and moving, and it's definitely like ADHD core when it comes to this new style of like, we got art rock that's coming back in a big way at the early end of this year. I mean, the Midwest emo elements here are fantastic. There's even a song, I think it's a CIA. It starts kind of like a KKB Civilization era track, and then by the end of it, it's like a screamo Japanese math rock song. It is just insanity. But it has the highs and lows. It has high energy. It has this nice little like chill section. The production's great. I love the percussion. Lots of like very twinkly, nice sounding, just like bells and things. It's really great. I love it. I've been listening to it pretty much all weekend, and it actually has a lot of replayability, even though I can't pick out one song from the next yet. But very good. I thought I was listening to Tom York for a second on one of the songs because I don't know how they got into that voice, but it was like, okay, now I'm hearing Tom York, and then the next one I'm hearing a Midwest emo accent. It's wild, but very good. It is an hour and 3 minutes, so it's definitely on a little bit of the longer side, but I think it is definitely worth it. Just say it's a really good like album experience. As always happens when the beginning of the year starts, is like there's such a music drought for about 2 or 3 months, and then boom, something hits, and this is just the one that happened. So check that one out. It is very good. Now we can go to the second album I listened to. Take everything good I said about the last album and kind of flipped on its head, I guess. I listened to Slift Ilion, I think is the name.
Okay.
This is I think it's a French trio that do stoner metal and kind of space rock. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting off of it. It is an hour and 19. And I was like, okay, I'm excited. I like stoner metal. I like space rock. I like kind of psychedelic elements. And they kind of fuse all those together, but I feel like there's something very off about this record. I don't know what it is. I love long form music. I like all these genres, but it was boring, and I don't know why. I couldn't get into it. I tried like 3 times. I did eventually finish it, but like I feel like it's very top heavy, and then it kind of stagnates. It kind of feels similar as it keeps going on. I also don't like the vocals. They're French, but it comes across as like Viking metal almost, and I can't take it seriously, and it's really strange. And it pulls me out because some of these soundscapes do turn into pretty nice sounding things. But I can't do the, Sabaton, like
Mm.
Norwegian metal stuff. I'm like, I get really weird vibes from that, and I do not connect to it at all. So that pulled me out a little bit. I feel like the record just doesn't know what it wants to do. One moment it's very spacey and pretty, and the next it's like symbol overload. I don't know. It doesn't have those nice little pockets of rhythm and repetition that I'd love to see from this kind of long form style. There's a reason why Godspeed and Swans and all these groups like are so popular because they have this rhythm, they have this repetition down pat, where it plays with your brain nicely and it keeps you engaged throughout the long tracks. These, it's like you get kind of spacey, and then all of a sudden, oh my god, you're getting pounded with everything, and then it goes back to it. So, uh, not really a fan. I might go back to it, but wasn't my thing. But I wanted to try it. So,
That's fair. Man,
not always positive on the show.
that's okay. That's okay. I will say when I was on Slift's uh, Spotify page, there are artists that are also like them as Frankie and the Witch Fingers, and these guys have the best album covers of all time. That's what I gotta say.
Oh, those are sick.
That's what I'm saying. I like the
Okay, these are
monsters
pretty
eating
awesome.
people eating monsters. So
Yeah.
it's very trippy.
Dang. It's like a step up from King Gizzard album covers.
I know.
That's crazy. I like don't dive too much into this like kind of psych rock, space rock weirdness, like past King Gizzard too much.
Yeah.
But like any artist that's kind of in that area, I feel like their album covers are always just wild. But yeah, it's kind of crazy. I might go back to this eventually, but like, I know where I like things and I know where I don't like things, but I'm gonna give it a shot. But yeah, check out the Glass Beach album. It is really great. Other things that happened this week, I think Kendrick has 2 songs now that have been paraded at various things this week.
Oh, really? I saw he was
Yes.
doing his barbecue thing or whatever he does.
Oh yeah, he does that every year, I think.
Yeah.
But he has a new song in a Chanel promo.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think it's
saw
for
that.
a PG Lang directed Chanel movie.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and then there was another one today at some fashion show that there was an unreleased song played. I don't know if these will turn into anything. I listened to a little bit of the one that was in the Chanel one. They are very interesting. I
Yeah.
feel like when there was rumors about Mr. Morale being a rock album, they were doing the rumors about the wrong album because I feel like this is where he's going next is this weird indie rock rap fusion, which every rapper has to
could
do for
be.
some reason.
Yeah, but it never works out though.
No, but I do think Kendrick would have a really great approach to it because I mean the funk he was doing on To Pimp a Butterfly and Untitled, like that
Yeah,
works. It works
that's
really
true.
well. But it's interesting. I'm ready for him to kind of like. I feel like Mr. Morale was his last huge artistic statement. I'm ready for him to get weird. I'm ready for him to experiment with a whole lot of different things.
Yeah.
I feel like he's at a point in his career now where he can just start doing that. So
Not everything needs to be a big statement. We can have some fun
Exactly.
sometimes.
please,
Which I guess that's what the Baby Keem and him
Yeah.
songs are.
I would still love a record out of those 2. I hope that happens at some point.
Oh, I'm sure it will.
That kind of dropped last year and then nothing happened. Although Baby Keem is teasing a new record too, and it seems like a solo record, so not too sure what's going on with that. But I'm feeling we'll get some PG Lang released this year. I'm just not too sure what it's going to be. I would think it would be a Baby Keem one over a Kendrick one, honestly. I feel like
Yeah.
Kendrick is still pretty far away from dropping again.
Yeah, probably. Well, I mean, we're used to having
predict.
what, 7 years or something?
Yeah, it was a 6-year
6-year?
gap.
Yeah.
But yeah, this week we got The Smile, so I'll do a review of that next week, hopefully. Excited for that. I was expecting that to be like the big rock album for the year, and then I got this Glass Beach one where it's like, whoa, this is like Gen Z Radiohead on steroids. But still very excited for that. I'm really excited to dive into that one. I feel like they're going to have really nice footing coming off the debut record. I feel like all of the little kinks that I didn't like are going to be worked out here. MGMT, that one's coming up, I think end of February. Never mind. We still got a little bit on that one, but I'm still looking forward to it very much.
Yes.
But apparently the Kanye one keeps getting moved back over and over again, but who cares?
That's okay.
Apparently Peggy hooked up with Kanye,
That's disappointing.
which was very disappointing. It's funny because he went on like a drunk Twitter rant about how like Kanye works with like the worst people and like doesn't let the people that actually just want to like make good stuff with him. And of course, a drunk Twitter rant is going to get Kanye to actually link up with you. So then that happened. So get your bag, I guess. I know that Kanye is Peggy's favorite artist, even though he hates him as a person. So I have very mixed feelings about them linking up. This is not the first time Peggy has made very questionable decisions like
That's
this.
true.
Unfortunately, he talks a big game and doesn't always do the actions that he talks about. So not too pleased with that, but I kind of understand it. It's the whole, if you have the opportunity to meet your idol for so long, even though if they are just a absolute freak. Yeah, I still don't like the decision. I personally am like, yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah.
But whatever. I'm not here to tell him what to do. Peggy's whole thing is being, kind of edgy and left of center anyways. Hanging out with Nazis is not, good ever.
No.
So, it's not a good look. But yeah, that happened this week. I forgot about that. I think Peggy's album should still be coming in the first quarter of this year. I would think I'd expect a single pretty soon, actually. If he was smart, he'd line it up with his supposed feature or whatever he's doing on the new Kanye record. Although I feel like Peggy's not underground anymore, where he has to like line up his promotion with his big feature or whatever.
No.
I don't know what he would even do on a Kanye song, honestly. I feel like the two don't mesh because Kanye would have to give up production to Peggy, which I feel like he wouldn't do.
He's
And
done
what is
that
Peggy
before.
gonna do on a Kanye beat? I suppose he has, but I mean, having never worked with the guy and probably only like linking up with him because of the weird Twitter rant and people like wanting them to hook up, I don't know.
Yeah.
Although the new Kanye record's gonna be garbage anyways, so I don't want Peggy's name on that at all. But whatever, I don't have control over any of that.
No, I don't know.
Yeah. What else? I think there's a new Shrapnel record coming this year. There's been some talkings in the Backwood Studios areas. Seems like Shrapnel's got a new one coming up, which is going to be fantastic. I'm excited for that. I think Andre 3000's going on tour,
Oh, that's fun.
which would be pretty sick. It's going to be in Chicago and Detroit. So I feel like that'd be a pretty baller concert. Just
I think so.
see Andre play some flute and some jazz for 2 hours.
No rapping, just
great.
a flute concert.
Just a flute. I doubt he would be doing any Outcast songs.
Yeah.
Although I don't really know who he's going with. I'm sure he has a supporting band.
I just want him to do solo reprise. That's all I want.
Yes. Oh yeah, he's definitely not doing any rapping. I clicked on the picture and it's like the most like when you think of the genre of like jazz and just chill left of center music, those are the people that pop up on the screen.
Oh,
That'd be a sick show. That'd be a sick show.
Well, it'd be fun.
It would be really fun.
Oh.
Anything else? I feel like stuff's just kind of coming out randomly. And I don't write anything down, so it's kind of just like, oh, this happened too.
I have something.
Oh.
Billy Joel is dropping a new song.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. I don't know if this is like a lead-in for a record or if he's just dropping a song. I think it's just out of nowhere.
Isn't he like 75?
Something like that. Yeah. I don't know. it's weird. Like everybody, like all the articles are like, yeah, this is the first time he's released like a solo single in 17 years, and it's kind of weird. I don't know why. It's called. Let me see. What is it called? Turn the Lights Back On, which does kind of make me think it might be a new record, which would be weird. But I guess for those of y'all who don't know, Billy Joel is one of my favorites. So I'm interested. We went and saw him live before the pandemic. Pretty good show. He still got it.
Yes, absolutely.
I will say that I think his career is probably right where it needs to be. In terms of like artistic output, River of Dreams was his last album, and it's pretty good. There's a lot of songs on it I like, and the last song is called Famous Last Words. So I feel like that's a pretty
Not
fitting.
anymore.
Not anymore. Well, I mean, it hasn't been because like
No, yeah.
he did his like classical release in the early 2000s, and then he did. There's a song. Oh, what's it called? It's like All My Life or something that came out in 2007. But so that's coming out on what is it? On February 1st. So next week. So
Next week is February already. That's crazy.
yeah, I know. So that's what I have. Billy Joel new song.
That's definitely a was not expected.
No. I don't know if he saw that the Beatles released like their
He's like,
last
"Ooh, I'm getting in
song,
on
and he's
this."
like, I want to do it. That could be it.
Maybe.
But it is weird that the song's called like Turn the Lights Back On or something. And if it's just a one off solo single, that just seems like a weird thing to call it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It is a bit strange.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I forgot Lil Dicky released the Dave soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
It has a total score of 9 out of 479 user scores.
Oh, no. 9 out of
Abysmal.
100.
A 9 out of 100,
Yeah.
yes.
Not 9 out of 10.
No.
Well, it's called Penith.
Yeah. It's he's got one joke and he definitely uses it. What a I forgot he existed. It's kind of sad that I had to see that. But yeah, that's a thing. But I think that's all I have for this week. I feel like there's one more thing I wanted to talk about, but I don't remember what it was. So it must not have been important.
In terms of music, I don't think. What else has happened?
Not much. I think the Peggy thing was the thing I was going to bring up, and I did that. So
Yeah. I did see that he got white or Chinesed.
did he?
He did. Him and Kanye both did. Yeah.
Dang. He's gonna make that the album cover. They shouldn't give him free ammunition like that.
That's true.
He would do that. He put that on the vinyl.
That would be kind of fire, actually.
I'm so sad that the Scare in the Hose, like, there wasn't a, maybe there was a vinyl version of it where, because the Bandcamp version of the album was like Trump and Kim Jong Un for the Scare in the Hose cover, and I'm like, that's the coolest cover I've ever seen.
yeah.
I want that.
That's right. I will say, yeah, the white and Chinese of Peggy and Kanye is weird.
I'd imagine so.
Not that the other ones look
Not
good.
that they're, yeah.
V-Lone Predator is a weird fella. I don't
Yeah,
know what.
Twitter is so far in the garbage that like we get excited over like the worst accounts like that because there's just nothing anymore.
Yeah.
It is literally, it feels like a ghost town on there. Like there's a couple of like popular accounts where you go in the comments and it's just like blue checks like posting emojis or something that just doesn't make sense until you scroll like for 5 seconds to find a real person.
Yeah.
It's a sad state of affairs.
Yeah, it's been really rough. It's been really rough on that platform. But
I think we once got banned a couple of times.
not gonna happen now.
Never. Now we can do whatever we want on there, probably.
I like messaging Grok.
Rock woke.
I don't know if I can, well, yeah, we can't use Grok. I don't buy it.
Yeah. We'll never know.
That's okay. I don't need to know.
I don't need to talk to Grok.
No. I don't talk to any of the AI bots. Maybe I should.
Exactly. I don't recommend it.
Why not?
It's just a chat bot at that point. Like, it's just a glorified search engine.
Yeah, that's true. But Google's always given me AI generated results anyways.
Yeah. Everybody freaks out about AI, but like the scarier thing is when you talk to somebody about a product and then you go on Instagram and you see an ad for the product you were talking about and you never looked it up.
That's true.
That's a lot scarier than any like AI chatbot I've seen, and it happens a lot.
Man, yeah, one time I was like talking to my mom, like, man, on Twitter I keep getting these ads for Cheech and Chong weed gummies. And it's like so weird. Like I don't I don't search stuff like that. It's like all my ads. And then she's like, "Oh, really? Let me see." And then she opened Twitter and it was the first ad she saw.
Yep.
The exact Cheech and Chong weed gummies that I was talking about.
It's crazy.
It is crazy.
Or like, I'll be looking for something. Like, I bought a new chair, and then like my girlfriend's Instagram will be full of chairs, and she never looked any of it up. And I'm like, this is great. I'm glad that we're just being stalked at every moment.
Well, I mean, you probably need a chair.
Oh, I definitely did. This is so much better.
That's what I'm wondering when it's like you get suggested ads for things you bought, and it's like, do you think I need another one now?
Yeah. Well, then like you buy one and the ads suddenly stop, and it's like, how do you know I got one?
They probably just read your emails and saw the confirmation email.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Spooky stuff.
It's really scary stuff.
Yeah.
I know what I'm scared
we
of.
should have our. What are you scared of?
I'm scared of representation in the movies. I think white people aren't getting represented enough.
Yeah, white genocide.
I saw, speaking of the boys, I saw someone just post the clip where the Nazi chick says white genocide and Homelander like gives her eyes, and it's like, you know how messed up you have to you have to say to get Homelander to look at you funny.
That's crazy.
That's true. I don't even think I picked up on that when I saw that show.
That's why we have a podcast. Two white guys talking about movies.
Exactly.
It's not what you think.
Oh, it's exactly what you think. We're like the JRE of movie podcasts.
Yeah. Where someone just goes on an unhinged rant and then someone else just goes, wow.
Well, that's true. It does happen. I went on like a 5-minute rant about the Suicide Squad game.
Yeah. Oh, well, we got to have a little bit of unhingedness to the podcast.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. But we should have, I think we can have our Disco Elysium podcast next week.
Oh, boy.
I think.
Okay. I can do that.
I'm pretty sure I'm like right there. So.
Okay.
For real this time.
For real this time.
But I don't know if that's going to be a separate podcast or if that's going to be merged with the other. It'll probably be a separate podcast if that's all we're talking about. So we'll figure that out.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll probably have a lot to say about it.
Most likely, yeah.
So it would probably be good to have that be its own thing. Maybe.
Yeah, we'll figure that out, but stay tuned for that. That should be a good episode.
I'm looking forward to talking about it.
Me too.
Oh, we didn't talk about the Avatar trailer.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't watch it.
I didn't either.
Okay.
I might watch it, I might not. If I'm really that bored and I need to watch a live action Avatar, I'll watch it. But
I don't think I'm going to watch it.
Yeah.
I think I saw someone post something and it kind of encapsulated how I thought, where it was like, at best, these animation live action adaptations are redundant, and at worst, they are a blatant slap in the face to the medium of animation. Like,
Yeah.
that's true. It's kind of my thoughts on video game adaptations, but that's a little different because those are very different mediums and how you experience the story. Still
Real.
not a fan of them, but I feel like it's more justified than a live action remake of a cartoon.
Yeah, I feel like if I was still like, 12 years old, it might be cool to me. But I mean, we got the Shyamalan one and that ruined it. Now I'm kind of over it.
Well, it
So
looks better than the Shyamalan one.
no, it does. But it's like, do I, as a 23-year-old man, need to watch a live action Avatar? I probably won't get any enjoyment out of it.
No.
Like I've watched the regular show like 6 times and it's fantastic. Do I need to
Oh,
see
it's
it in
great.
live action? Probably not.
No. And I don't know the story of it. Is it all 3 seasons in one?
I would assume they're gonna do knowing Netflix, the streaming model, they're just gonna do like one season and then they'll just continue and do season 2 and season 3. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
It looks
I'm
like
excited for like the actual new animated stuff that they're
yes.
doing.
Yeah.
Like I will definitely be tuned in for that, but I don't need any more remakes or readaptations or whatever.
No. Yeah, I mean, like, I know they're working on I think it's a movie that is the Avatar gang as adults. And
Yeah.
then they're doing a new, like, the Earth Avatar after Korra.
Hmm.
I think that's what all
Yeah, I'm down for both of those.
Yeah, I'll watch those. But yeah, I don't care too much about this. I care more about Madam Web. Now that's a movie I'm excited for.
That's a movie.
Did you see that advertisement where she
Oh
was
my
talking
god.
to the camera?
Oh my god.
Why did they
Yeah.
film it
That
like
was
that?
that was the most successful marketing campaign a movie has had in a while, I would say.
I don't even think it was intentional.
No, it just kind of happened.
I don't understand why you would
I don't
film
know how
something
they
like
shot
that.
that and everything, and then they're like, "Yeah, that looks on brand. Put it out."
I feel like Dakota Johnson didn't know there was going to be no music.
That's a very good point. Yeah, I feel like the tone could have been very different if there was at least a soundtrack to that video.
Yeah. Oh man. Does anyone even care about the Sony Spider-Man movies?
Besides Spider Verse, no.
That's true. That's its own thing. Oh. Okay. Well, I guess that's it for this week's episode. I don't know what next week is going to have.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Wait, when did this post? Wait, Kanye's releasing 3 volumes of one
Oh yeah,
album?
yeah. Dude couldn't even release one album, so he's like, "All right, let me announce 3."
What? Okay.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
February 9th, March 8th, and April 5th.
maybe this is his way of like getting out of finishing one product, and then he can drop just like 4 songs like once a month. I don't know.
I guess. I don't. Does anyone care that he doesn't release a date? Like,
The
those
release
don't
dates don't mean
matter.
anything when it comes to him.
Yeah, that's
And when
true.
like Donda, at least like you had the stadiums and it was cool,
Yeah.
and it was like the music was actually enjoyable and it was interesting up until the third one when he brought up all these stupid people because he loves to do the stupid shock thing.
Mm.
But now with this, it's like I know the music is garbage because of the leaks we have. Like he's a garbage person. He's off the deep end. He's beyond saving at this point.
Yeah.
Ty Dolla Sign is probably not the best person to do a record with. I'm going to be completely honest. He's a little bit flat.
I
when it
like Ty
comes to-
Dolla Sign.
I do, but it's like if I hear him on more than if I hear him more than twice on one album, I'm over it. He doesn't have the range.
Sure.
If we're gonna be honest.
I think I just like him on that Thundercat song. I think that's just what it comes
he
down
is
to.
very good at the Thundercat song. Yeah, he has good features. He's just like 45 minutes, but I
That's understandable.
and when your accomplice is Kanye West, it's It's not like a 1-2 punch.
That's true. I appreciate the word accomplice.
Yes. Yeah.
Speaking of accomplices and breaking the law, should we talk about Pal World?
Oh, we could talk about Pal World.
Now, I have played Pal World. Have you played Pal World?
I have not.
It's on Game Pass.
Oh, it's on Game Pass.
It's
Okay,
on
this
Game
changes
Pass.
everything.
Yeah, so you
This
don't
changes
have to
everything.
buy it. Yeah,
Oh
so
yeah, there it is.
I got Game Pass so I could play Pal World because our friend and occasional co-host Paul was like, "Hey, we should play Pal World together," and I said, "Okay." It was on my wish list. I didn't think it was going to get this big.
I didn't either.
We played
But
it
I guess the
on,
gaming landscape is in the gutter right now, so
yeah, yeah. So, but I mean, it's absolutely blown up. I guess for those who don't know, I don't know how you don't know. It's like everywhere. If you're even aware of video games a little bit, it is absolutely smashed Steam's records. I think it has like the third highest concurrent players of all time.
yeah, beat the Cyberpunk release night, which was crazy.
It beat,
Although
yeah,
half the people couldn't play the game on that night, so that might be
that's true.
taken into account.
I know it beat Cyberpunk, and I think it just beat Counter Strike,
Yeah.
which is kind of crazy. They said that they were the highest, and then they didn't take into account that PUBG had 2.7
Oh yeah, I
mil
forgot about that.
before it went free to play, so it didn't show up on the charts at first. But yeah, it is absolutely blown up, and I think there are some people that are upset, rightfully so, that they are stealing assets. It does seem to be that way, that they are stealing stuff from Pokemon. You look at the comparisons of wireframes and like the polygons line up exactly, which is you can't do that on accident. Um, it's a little strange, but I don't know. I thought it was fun with the time I had with it, but I don't know if it's the most like ethical game ever.
No, yeah, it's like I don't know if I'm gonna take enjoyment on like playing a game where I can like enslave Pokemon or shoot them or shoot other people. It's
Yeah.
like I don't know. It seems kind of I don't know. It seemed like it started as like a shock factor thing, and then they like, oh wait, people actually want this game, so now we have to like somehow make it, and then making it became okay. Our idea became kind of shallow, so let's. I don't want to create all of these myself. Let's just take some heavy liberties.
Yes,
Yeah,
that does appear to be the case. This is like I think maybe they haven't made a whole lot other than this. They made Craftopia, which I've heard
that's what it
okay
reminded
things
me of.
about.
Yeah,
They've
has the same
also
kind of vibe.
they also made AI Art Imposter, which I think people were like, oh. So you're a little bit you know how the game works, I guess, a little bit.
Yeah,
But
and I mean,
yeah,
I'm not like an IP stickler. Like, I don't really care.
no,
Especially like I feel like Game Freak is not doing Pokemon the best they could.
no.
Obviously, not to say that another company should just steal all the Pokemon assets, but at the same time, it's like I don't care. I'm not gonna die on the hill where it's like this looks too similar to a Pokemon. Like some of these are just like it's a sheep. You can only do a sheep so many different ways.
Right.
Like some are like directly ripped, but it's like, I mean, I have seen mods where you can just put Pokemon in. I think that's gonna definitely get taken down
It
really
did.
quickly.
It,
Oh,
it
it did
already,
already.
the
There
creator
we
was
go.
like, Nintendo got me
Yeah,
already. Yeah.
because Nintendo was like strict. So I'm surprised this game even came out. To be honest.
Yeah, that's the thing is that we don't know how long this game is going to be a thing because
Yeah.
it does have the blessing from Microsoft, and Microsoft and Nintendo have been pretty buddy buddy recently.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. That's probably going to affect it somewhat, but it is a little weird that they are stealing Nintendo's assets and they aren't doing anything yet.
Yeah, there's definitely a very gray line there because, like, in a court of law, could you state that they're directly stealing? I don't know. It's hard. It's, I don't know. It's a very weird gray area. I think people getting like really upset either way is a little like, come on, there's more important things happening.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know how Nintendo fans are to begin with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Twitter makes it seem like a mess. It seems like a pretty fun game to play for a couple weeks and then kind of forget about it. I think
Yeah.
it's just blowing up right now because it came out in January and there's literally nothing else happening in the gaming area right now.
Well, and Pokemon's huge. So I feel like a lot
Pokemon's
of the people
gigantic.
were
Yeah,
just gonna give it a shot because of that.
yeah.
And given the state of Pokemon, it was like, okay, well,
Mhm.
we'll see if there's an alternative.
And I don't even know if this is really even a Pokemon replacement. It's a survival
No.
game. Like, there's so much more aspects to it than like the actual like. There's not. It's not like Pokemon battles and like story and landscapes and stuff like that. It's using the kind of pocket monster thing and building a survival game around it.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's no turn-based combat.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
all, yeah, it's a third-person action game that has Pokemon that can help, I
Yeah.
guess.
And I mean, like, I love games like PokeMMO that, like, I think rightfully take that IP and, like, enhance it and update it, where, like, I can play an emulated version of this game online multiplayer and it makes it challenging and it makes it cool and it makes it really fun. Like, that's all I need it to be. But I don't know. It's an interesting thing that happened, but I'm like, I'm not going to think too much about it because it's like, whatever.
Yeah, I don't care too much. I mean,
Yeah.
in the grand scheme of it, I think that this is just an interesting, like, this game is huge and it is obviously stealing assets. What happens now? I think that's the more interesting thing, is that
Yeah, exactly.
how is the industry going to respond to this? So far, I haven't seen anything in terms of Nintendo doing anything, or any other big studios saying anything. It's kind of weird. It's like like this game is just kind of blown up, and then I don't know. It's weird. I saw people compare it to the Avatar movie, the second one, where it's like this game is huge and like nobody is talking about it, which is kind of true. I don't know.
I mean, it takes into context of what the time is released and all of that stuff. Like,
Yeah.
if this game came out in like November or October, they would not be nearly as big.
No, that's true. That's true. But
I mean, once you have a debate over like AI in games and like all this kind of stuff, that just brings more and more and more and more attention. Like they struck a gold mine when it comes to this.
that's true. That is true, and it is decently fun, even though it looks really bad visually. Yeah, and I will say, I think that first trailer it's kind of misleading. That's what I was kind of expecting for like sweatshop stuff.
Yeah, I think that's just shock for the first trailer because I remember we talked
Yeah.
about that when that came out like I don't know 2 years ago at this point.
Yeah, that was when I added it to my wish list. I'm like, okay, yeah, when it comes out, I'll see. It's just kind of surprising to see it now, where it's huge. But like, I think in the trailer, like, they're crying, and it's like,
Yeah.
what is this? Like, this is so different than everything. But like, they seem happy when they're doing their jobs now. It's like there's a fun little elephant guy that shoots water and he irrigates their crops, and he looks really happy to do it. And even when he finishes his job, there's a little shiny thing and he smiles, and it's like, okay, well, he seems to be fulfilled with his work at least.
Yeah, I think that's the whole reason they got traction was because of like, oh my god, you can shoot the Pokemon.
Well,
or you
yeah.
can have the Pokemon work for you.
That is true. Well, it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all right. As a game, it's all right.
I do like games like this where it's like it kind of has its moment. It's a cool thing where people actually like will play something for a while and then before it goes back to like, the usual 3 games that everybody plays.
Yeah. But for now, people are playing it, I guess.
Yeah. We'll see how it turns out. It might be dead in a month or two. Who knows? Whether
Who
legally
knows?
dead or just the hype goes away. But
Well, I'm sure the hype will go away.
Yeah.
It's not that type of game. It's going to be the
No, yeah.
Valheim or whatever of this year.
yeah, I mean, Valheim had its moment.
Yeah.
I feel like every game in this kind of style kind of has its moment.
That isn't Minecraft. Minecraft, for some reason,
Yeah.
is the one that stuck.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it is the best out of all of them, but
I would say so, yes. It's just simple enough to be
exactly.
accessible, but also is advanced enough to have some replayability. So
And you can mod it to oblivion.
that's true, which is
It's a literal
something.
sandbox of a game.
That's true. And I think that's something that Microsoft has really pushed. So
Hmm.
who knows? That might. I don't see Pal World having that kind of versatility because there's just
No.
not enough to it. But I mean, it's something.
And they're
It's
already on thin ice, I think, so it's
yeah.
kind of hard to
I know they're
go
like,
anywhere.
yeah, we're gonna add new content. We're gonna add new pals. What it's like. What does that mean? You're gonna add more of the Pokemon?
Yeah, you were kind of lazy when you did your initial designs. How are you gonna do more?
I don't know. They might have to redo some of those appearances.
I
We'll
would
see.
imagine that a lot of these are gonna have to be changed once Nintendo actually, like, if they want to take action.
Yeah, which I mean, this is early access too. We do kind of
Hmm.
have to say that, but that doesn't really mean anything these days.
No,
But
I think PUBG was in beta for 2 years.
what's that one? There's it's like 7 days to die. Yeah, that game came out in 2013 and it's still in early access.
That's awesome.
And so like it really means absolutely nothing.
No, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Just kind of interesting that Power World just kind of came up out of nowhere and
True.
it's the biggest thing. We'll see. I don't think it's gonna beat PUBG. I think right
No,
now,
PUBG is huge around the world too. I think like they got, I mean, it's Tencent, I think. So it's like you
yeah,
got the entire Chinese and Indian audience as well, which is gigantic.
yeah. I know they're trying. They're trying to get that 2.7 mil that PUBG had in concurrent, but I think it's sitting at 900,000. So, which even that's
But
massive.
still,
But
yeah.
I don't. That's 3 times what they got now. I don't know.
Yeah. For a game that never really worked that well.
PUBG?
Yeah.
No, I don't know if it works
Game
well
never
now.
felt good.
No, I wouldn't say so. But Power World doesn't really either. I think it just has that
Yeah.
that appeal of it being
Hmm.
a Pokemon like. Pokemon
Yeah.
close
Which
enough.
people go crazy for, like in any shape or form.
Yeah, but I mean, this seems to have more of like a thing than Temtem did, which was trying to do
Yeah,
the same
Temtem
thing.
was kind of a flop, I think, after the first couple of weeks.
Yeah. So we'll see if this has more of a staying power than Temtem.
Yeah. I mean, it says a lot about the Pokemon company that, like, anytime there's a Pokemon clone, people go crazy over it because of, like, the lack of creativity in the mainstream actual Pokemon games.
Yeah. Keep doing the same thing over and over again.
Yep.
Maybe they should have a sweatshop in the new Pokemon game.
Yeah. That's what they need.
I think so.
I need my Pikachu to carry an AR-15 at all times.
That is the best. That is the best. But I think that'll do it for this week's episode of the Boy Time Podcast. I don't have anything else, I don't think.
Me neither.
That was the only thing that really happened. But yeah, next week, week 2 of week 2 of a desert marathon for Acid Westerns, and other than that, I don't know. We are going to be seeing Joe Pera this week, so we might talk about that a little bit. His show.
Probably.
Hopefully, it's some new material because I did see his special. So I hope it isn't
I
just.
hope it's the exact same.
It might be. It might be. I wouldn't blame him too much, but that's okay. Just seeing him live will be fun. So that's that. Bye.